Hi, welcome to the Expansion Scapes podcast. I'm Olga Aydınoğlu. I'm a shamanic healing practitioner, author, and artist. On this podcast, I talk all things expansion, meaning all the ways in which we expand in life. Today, I'm going to share with you an experience I had meditating with the planet Earth recently. By recently, I mean like about a week ago, and things have been expanding ever since in terms of clarity of what I have seen and witnessed. And I really wanted to share it because it was very eye-opening and useful for me in my life. And I hope it's going to be useful for somebody out there. It's a little bit hard for me to pinpoint a specific topic about this meditation and about this video from my conversation with the planet Earth. But some of the topics that came up was the divine feminine of the planet Earth and the divine masculine of the planet Earth and the child, and also non-Earth beings such as we can call them aliens, something about the suffering that's going on here on Earth, and how do we go about just being here on Earth with all this darkness going on, basically. And the final message that I received from the planet Earth is, you matter. And I was shown kind of an explanation for that, so that you can see more like in how you matter. Okay. So the reason that I had this recent conversation with the planet Earth was because in my group shamanic healing meditation, I call them group sittings, we are going through the four directions. So we're connecting to the four directions without and the four directions within of each one of us, so that we can find or reconnect rather to our direction and be able to navigate our life better, navigate ourselves better, navigate our intentions, our motivations. Where am I coming from and where am I going? So when I was preparing for and working with the directions for my group sittings, I was guided to go towards the center. And the center meaning the center of any one of us, and also the center of the planet Earth. So I was guided to connect to the planet Earth for direction. So normally when I would connect to the planet Earth and sit in meditation with the planet Earth, I would normally get something of a very beautiful, warm sensation, sensation of community, a sensation that you're not alone here, a sensation that you're part of a very, very big something. And along with that comes actually confidence and meaning and purpose, and this unconditional love from the planet Earth itself, and this reminder that we are home here. But this time when I connected to the, as I call it, I talk to the soul of the planet Earth, as we do in shamanism, the traditions in which I was educated. I have a conversation with the soul of the planet Earth. And this time, for the first time, the planet came to me not as this feminine being, but as a masculine, actually. And it's the first time I felt it like that. I was shown a lot of suffering that was going on at the moment, specific faces of people that were not only suffering physically, but just suffering emotionally and having their normal everyday lives. And I was also shown past suffering. I was shown a specific castle somewhere, but the castle is gone and only the foundation is left with the like boulders or rocks that were used as a foundation. And within those rocks, there were like memories of people suffering from some kind of, I don't know, historical battle or something, or And it felt like also mixed with torturing, and I don't know, but it was just a lot of pain and suffering and darkness. I felt like maybe there's interference going on in my communication, so I worked on clearing that. But then I was shown that no, this is being shown to you on purpose because of the intention I was having. I wanted to update my relationship with the planet Earth. And also, I wanted to update my relationship with myself, with the 4 directions. So I have a clearer and deeper understanding of my intentions of what am I doing here? What am I doing here as a shamanic healing practitioner? Why am I doing this? Why am I painting? Why am I writing? Why am I making videos and all that stuff? So it was a connection to the planet Earth and also to myself, like an updating of this inner connection. And so I was shown that, yes, this darkness is part of the message. So I listened, and I felt that the Earth was talking to me, not with the normal feminine type of energy that I'm used to perceiving. Because normally I would come to the planet Earth with an intention, with the desire, with the request for healing. Sometimes for peace, or to feel one with the Earth community. And so then the female voice of Earth would come through, this mother type of energy would come through. But this time I was seeking something else. So the masculine voice of planet Earth came through, and it was showing all this suffering that has been happening for a long time on planet Earth related to humans. And I was hearing clearly a masculine voice of the planet Earth saying, "You are no child. You have been here many times. You have lived many lifetimes. You are no child. You have wisdom. You have knowledge. You have experience." And like an underlying message of, you can act. Something like this, like you can do something. You can act. You're not a child. This was very, very opposite to when I talk to the planet Earth and I hear the mother, female voice come through, and she normally says, "You are my child." Or when I would talk to the planet Earth with other intentions for maybe ideas or creativity or something, then the mother, this divine mother voice of the planet Earth would say something very supportive and protective of the pregnancy, metaphorical pregnancy of ideas, creative ideas that I'm nurturing. But so she would be talking to me as a child or as a fellow mother who is like nurturing or nursing my creative ideas, such as writing projects or painting projects or something. And this masculine was coming up, but it was just so supportive, even though we were watching a lot of suffering take place. The masculine voice, felt like a father, a father that has an intention to set you on your path, not like maybe in human life, sometimes fathers or mothers, our parents can put us down or something, or tell us that we have a duty to do something, or we have to do something. This wasn't like that. It was... like in human life, when we have our traumas and distortions and pain and suffering, sometimes we get messages from our parents that have underlying tones of guilt or shame or some kind of attachment or something like that, when they tell you must do something, because you should be ashamed of yourself if you don't. I don't know. We have this on Earth, but this was a different voice of the masculine and a father. I really felt a lot of strength coming through, like towards me, as in, yes, we are in this terrible situation. There's a lot of pain and suffering. And also, you're not a child. in a sense that you're not a child, you should go do something. And yes, in those words, but there wasn't like a terrible underlying guilting situation going on. It was just, it was more empowering. It was a reminder. You have been here many times. You're not a child. You can go and act. You can go and do things, and you can. And it wasn't like you should, but I felt like a little bit of a nudge of, go ahead, you can act, even though you may perceive yourself as a child in some ways, you're also an adult. So yeah, and it was continuing to show me the suffering. And I started to see actually a lot of and this is not, I'm not saying this to scare anybody or make things even worse. My intention is like that father voice of planet Earth who shares things for knowledge or for support and for empowerment, and not for fear, not to increase fear. So if you feel like you will be afraid or going into a situation where you'll be guilting yourself or guilting other people or something like that, I would suggest actually turning off this video, because that is not an intention at all. If you listen with an intention for empowerment and transformation, action, growth, expansion, change, then I'm speaking to those who have that intention, and not the intention of, oh my God, let's blame a lot of people, let's blame somebody, and let's just go in fear and just like guilting ourselves and others. That is completely the opposite of my intention. That's not really getting us anywhere, in my opinion. So I started to see this, because it was showing me the planet Earth, masculine, divine father voice consciousness was showing me. It was zooming out from Earth, and it was showing me some kind of very, very gigantic insect type beings. And I realized that when I see insect type, at that time when I saw the insect type beings, it was actually my mental body creating those images, because I don't have like a box for how such a being would look like. So I was kind of filling in the blanks. So they don't necessarily, I feel, always look like insects. But I was shown how the planet is being like infested by some kind of gigantic dark insects. They had many like arms and legs, limbs. Some of them look like spiders, but I love spiders. Okay, I have nothing against spiders. Love spiders. So and the whole of the Earth was just dark, ashy gray, dry, dark, like devastated, malnourished, full of some kind of gray ash. And those insects were all over the place. And they were some of them were really gigantic, like maybe the size of like half Europe or something, half of that continent. And I was zooming out. And those insect type beings were actually, they were partly kind of robotic and alien. So there was like something that was metal or robotic, and also, at the same time, alien. So they had partly like a flesh and bone body, and then also they had this body that wasn't of Earth, and also, something like AI or robotic something. And I was, at that time, I was actually getting pretty down on everything on the planet Earth, on myself. And I was like, wow, this is really infested. Like the planet Earth is really, really infested, and it's really dark, and there's so much pain and suffering. And it feels like there's no way out, like it's gone too far. And that reminded me of when I have plants, sometimes I can't take care of some of my plants. And sometimes a plant would get so infested with something that well, it would just be completely infested, then I would, unfortunately, I would be like, well, this is beyond repair. I can't heal this plant. And yeah, I would throw it away, unfortunately. I wish I could do better. I could be better at taking care of plants. But yeah, I was getting this feeling of this is too far. Like, I think Earth is not... I think this is not redeemable. Like, I don't think this can be saved. I think that's it. I think that, I think they won. I think if this is a win-lose situation, I think those dark beings won. I think that's it. That's their victory. I don't know where to go from here. And this situation, the masculine Earth Divine Father voice said, he brought up some memories of mine of my past lives that I already knew about. So these are not new memories. One of them was a past life memory of mine of me being on a battlefield in some kind of a very big war. And I'm still not sure if it's World War I or World War II. I feel it's like World War I, but it doesn't really matter. It was... in the forest, and not a very dense forest, kind of loose forest. And there was a battlefield going through that forest. It was a trench kind of battlefield. And just hundreds and thousands of people were dying in that war from both sides. And it felt absolutely meaningless. It felt very horrifying because it was meaningless on the battlefield. And my job there was, I feel like normally it would be nurse, but also some kind of support personnel. And at that time, though, I wasn't being a nurse. I was, because there was no need for nurses, because it's just dead bodies as far as the eye could see. Wherever you look around you in that loose, like, forest/field area, it was just dead bodies all over the place. And my job was something about collecting census, walking up to everybody and identifying who it was, and also counting them. But also it was so scary because it was also like, it was both sides. So there was no feeling of us and them, or this side or that side. It was just both sides. The same. They're all dead, And at that time, there was this feeling of kind of like the feeling when I saw the planet Earth with the insects completely infested. And there's this feeling of, well, I think they won. I think they won. That's it. So that was the same feeling, but with a complete feeling of doom. Like, wow, we really screwed up as humanity. Like, we really screwed up. I think that's it. I think this is the big screw up. This is the complete screw up. That you can't go any further. Yeah, and there was just this feeling of doom, like doom, doom, doom. There's no way out of this. And also a feeling like, after this, I will never be the same. I will never be the same, and the Earth will never be the same. We are not going to be the same after this experience. And while I was walking around, there were a few other people walking around doing a similar job to me. I'm not sure. Sometimes we looked at each other, and with those eyes and that message in our hearts that, wow, this is it, this. And I think because of that extreme doom and extreme terrible feeling, the horror, we, or at least I, in that life, could sense something that was not only physical. So I could sense like psychically things around. I'm not sure if in that lifetime I was normally perceiving things like that or not, but like from my memory of that lifetime, I see it clearly. But also I feel like the person who I was actually sensed it too, like psychically. And I saw there was a presence of non-physical beings kind of floating around. And one of them, I saw them as like a pretty much looking like an angel. And also it felt like it could be like an aspect of me. But anyway, I'm not sure. I guess that angel was helping the transition of people from the physical to the non-physical. And I saw that angel kind of have that same feeling as us, like that doom. And the angel's body and wings became kind of darker and darker. And everything at that time had colors of like dark red and black, kind of like blood and red and black. And it became darker, the angel, and drier. And then I felt like the wings dried up and just fell off, which was also a really, really heartbreaking thing to notice, like a loss of hope. Yes, that's what it was, a loss of hope. So, yeah, when I saw those insects infestating the planet Earth, I felt the same feeling as in that lifetime when there was just this loss of hope. Like, that's it. I think we're done here. And then I asked the planet Earth 2 questions, which I often ask myself or the souls of people who come to me for sessions. I ask on like from a deeper level of consciousness, when did you create this experience and for what purpose? So like, how did you create this? How did this start? Like this infestation with the dark insect type of things, which are not really insects. I don't know. They look like insects, but yeah, I don't think they really are. And then I felt the planet Earth answer. And then it became like a she again. So, and I felt like a ball of fire from within her, like inside of her. Kind of like how I perceive the heart center sometimes. There's like a spring of energy, a life force spring coming from the heart. So sometimes I see it like that. So the planet Earth showed, as a female now, she showed this center which was burning like fire. I guess like that's the hottest place in the Earth, right? And she was showing I wanted to explore life. And she showed this ball, and it started to kind of go out like fire. But it wasn't really fire. It was some kind of liquid, fiery liquid of life and exploration, of feeling, of experience. And it was kind of like there was a ball, and it was kind of flowing up the fire, the liquid, and it was going into many branches, but didn't go directly into becoming a tree, but something like a tree, but not really a tree. So it was like showing I wanted to explore like life experiences. And I asked, okay, well, when did that happen? That dark stuff, like when did that happen? And I was shown that on like there was a line that mostly there was a straight line of that fire, and there was like a branch, and there were more branches, and in one of the crevices of the branch, not the first one but the second 2, like this, one of the crevices of the branch, there was this boom. It felt a little bit like not a needle, but what do you call it when you have a piece of wood that goes inside your skin and your finger and it hurts a lot. Anyway, so I was shown like there's this dark thing coming in between like a crevice of two branches, or rather than like it was like okay, these are two branches, but this came here, so not here, like here, and I said, well, what? How did that get in there? And she said, it happened on the way, like as I was exploring experiences, it happened on the way. Like it was part of the exploration. And kind of like it was a feeling of I got carried away, but not in a bad way as if it's a mistake, but it's a conscious decision, free will decision. And this dark thing that was stuck in there, I tracked it, and it had its own little flow of energy, and then it was becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was going somewhere else, and kind of far away up there, and it felt to me like a black hole. It was just like some kind of really dark energy, and it felt a little bit, like a black hole. It was round. And then I saw Earth as this ball of fire, and I saw this black hole as, the opposite, basically. And then they had their, like, flows of energy, and they were meeting here, and they were interacting and going like this and going this way and that with... Like from the earth, it was a flow of fiery energy, but from the darkness, it was the same, just it was dark. I was watching this interaction happen, and it was clear that it was the free will of both. And it was actually feeling a little bit like exploration of each other, interaction with each other, exploration of each other, and a little bit even like sex with each other. So I was watching from a side, and then I was thinking, okay, well, you guys look like you're enjoying this or whatever, but I would like to not participate in this dark play because it feels too dark to me now, and I don't want to take part in this. I don't want to explore this any further. I think, like, for me, I've explored enough. I'm out of here. I don't want this anymore. So I was searching for ways of how can I at least do my part of not exploring more darkness or something like that. And because it felt like, this is your game. Like, this is your thing. This is your relationship. This is your exploration of each other. And it is not my business to butt into that and start making my own arrangements in there. I wanted to actually like separate myself from this. I'm done. I don't want this. This is too painful. And I heard the masculine voice again of the planet Earth. And the masculine voice said, but you're already in this. You think that it's not your... I don't want to call it a game because it's not fun. It's not your... I was going for like, this is not my interaction. I want to be out of it. But yeah, the masculine father voice from the Earth said, not with guilt or anything like that again, but it said it as information and as a remembrance, like remember that you are already here. And it showed me a lot of my lifetimes that I remember already. And there was a feeling of the stuff that I don't remember too. Like, you are in here for many lifetimes, thousands of years. You are part of this interaction. You are part of this interaction, and not only you're part of this interaction, but you are also one of the, like, of your free will as a collective. You were one of the souls in the collective of more souls. You have co-created this. You have, not only have you, it's not just like you agreed to this. It's not even an agreement. It's more like, you have been one of the voices that said, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea, let's do it. I don't think I was seeing the future of this, but at the time it felt, I don't think I was necessarily saying, yeah, it's a good idea, the suffering. But sometimes we say, yes, it's a good idea to something terrible, to something that doesn't look so terrible and looks quite exciting. Like maybe the first time somebody tries drugs or something, and they think, hey, this is exciting, I can keep it safe. And then a full-blown addiction happens, and then life goes to shit. And did I agree to that? No. Was I seeking that? No. But it went there. And so I was shown how you were one of the souls in the collective of many, 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 many souls, who is Earth, who's part of Earth. You co-created it. You co-created it as an idea, that, like an origin of an idea of, let's try this, let's explore this. So it was showing me, you're already part of it. You can't just say, this is not my business, this is not my play, this is not my thing, I'm out of here. No, it showed that I was part of this, and the only way out is through. And it showed me, as a connection to this and to bring more clarity into it, there was a connection of one of my past lives that the first time I remembered that life was when I was a teenager. And at that time, I didn't make too many connections. I just remembered that life, and it didn't really have too much understanding or mental clarity on it. I just felt the remembrance. Like I don't think I went out of my body, but I think something happens in your consciousness where I relived that experience when I was a teenager. A lot of my past lifetimes were coming through when I was a teenager, and all kinds of spiritual experiences. This was one of them. And it was like a key, or one of the key or seed-like explanations of why did I even agree to this? Or not even agree, I don't know. So the lifetime was on a ship. It wasn't, I wasn't a human. And it was on a ship. It was a little bit like Star Trek. It was a gigantic ship that was the size of, it feels like many cities. And there were a lot of people. I say people, but they weren't humans. But I'm going to say people because why not? They were beings, okay? And I was there, one of them. And we were living there. And we were not living on any planet, but we were always traveling in space. And I remember that we were so ancient and we were so old that we had actually many, many ships like that in space in different parts of the universe. We weren't the only ship. There were many, many of us. And we all had connections with each other. So like technology-wise, we could connect with each other. We always knew where everybody was. And we had smaller ships that could go between those gigantic ones, flying wherever they were. And but I remember that we had an interesting history where we knew that we were very old, but we didn't have a planet. And there's something dark about our history that we all somehow don't remember, because the explanation is because we're so old and it happened such a long time ago, we don't remember where we came from. There was just this darkness about the history that we don't remember where we came from. We're that old. It's like, as long as our memory serves us, we've always been on ships, but we have a little bit of an inkling that we did live on some planet, but there was all darkness about that memory. And it feels like we don't even remember which planet, and how did we live there. So that was like a sad aspect of our life, is that we were a people with no history. I'm not really sure what we were doing. Were we searching for other planets or not? But I was kind of a young person in the family, and I had 2 siblings, and there was a war going on, and a lot of the like male beings, they were off somewhere through those little ships, and sometimes they would come back and sometimes they would leave, and we would always stay on that ship. And one time I heard there was this big alarm. Everybody was alarmed and everybody's running, and I didn't understand what was happening. I was trying to ask what's happening, but it was somehow I found out that somebody was shouting, and somehow I found out that there was a kind of a attack that was very different and new from what we had experienced before, which was a kind of a virus. And the virus came through the interactions, kind of like an internet virus, but it was also somehow biological. So it was partly biological and partly robotic. I was trying to figure out a word like bio-robotic, or I guess it exists already. So it was some kind of a bio-robotic virus that can travel by information, but also it was somehow partly biological. So I don't understand the technology of it, but it had infestated. It had penetrated our systems, like electronic systems. And the terribleness of this virus was that it's not that it like, oh, it shuts down all your computers now, or you don't have a place to live or something. It wasn't like that. It was so much more terrible, and I want to say heartless. It was something that erases your memory of yourself and of your relationships to others. But it still keeps you alive, which is why it's horrible. It was horrible from our perspectives. And there were people running in a frenzy, and some people stopped running. Some people were just walking around, kind of looking around like lost, like they don't know what they're doing. And it means like they were done, like they were already affected. And it was horrible to see how people were running in groups, like in families, trying to protect themselves, but they didn't really know how. And we were doing the same thing. And then suddenly when the virus would hit them, they would all suddenly stop remembering their connection to each other. Like the parents didn't know that this was my child. The child didn't know that this was the parent. The child didn't know this is my brother or sister. And they just had something different in their eyes, and the eyes changed color a little bit. And I was running with my little brother, and I don't know where the rest of my family was at that time, but I was trying to protect my little brother and us from forgetting each other. And I remember I was running over some bridge and holding, and then I realized that there was nowhere to run, so I stopped running. And I was just holding his hand, and I told him to look at me because I saw something changing in people's eyes. So I thought, maybe if we don't look at their eyes, we won't catch it, because I don't know how you catch it. So I told him, only look in my eyes continuously and remember who we are to each other. Remember who we are. I am your sister. I'm your sister. And we were looking at each other as long as we could. But then I felt like everything kind of disappeared. And I didn't see what happened afterwards, but I guess we lost our memories because, yeah, there's this cold feeling about it. Like, I want to say nothing happened. Nothing happened to our bodies, but something happened because we didn't remember who we were to each other and who we were. And yeah, it felt like the most terrible virus of the world, or weapon of the world, really. So, and in this lifetime, I remembered it when I was a teenager. And later, as I was also as a 20-something-year-old, I was taught things by my guides about the Akashic records and about the structure of our souls and how we come here and have this experience and how we can use the Akashic records. And I have a separate video on that in my channel, so I don't want to repeat that experience. You can find it. Just type Akashic records, Expansion Scapes with a space, Expansion space Scapes. Yeah. And just now I started to realize, not now, actually, maybe a year ago, I was starting to realize why I'm even having this experience as an Akashic Records reader, explorer, because it's a kind of a karmic healing from that lifetime that, and before I learned about the Akashic Records, I remember I used to write stories, and the most horrible stories that I could write, the scariest thing that I could write about, is when you die and then there is no memory of you. Like, there's no record of you. There's no memory in anybody else's brain or soul or anything. There is no record of you, and you've disappeared completely. Like, you don't remember yourself and nobody remembers you. And yeah, I used to write stories like that, where the most horrible thing is that loss of memory. So, and then I recently understood that the reason I'm doing this Akashic Records thing, and also having psychic explorations of consciousness, of human souls, or whatever, any kind of soul, is actually a healing that's happening right now in my life of that experience, when I thought that it's a complete defeat. Just like right now I'm seeing on Earth with those insects, it's a complete defeat. You know, there's no way out of this. This is it. We lost. Like, that's it. Nothing. There's nothing we can do about it. It was the same when I lost my memory on that ship. And it just keeps repeating itself, because even on that ship, we still had a problem with our memory, where we came from, the ancient history. Where did we come from? Like, which planet? I don't know. So it's like this karma, at least in my life, that keeps repeating itself. There was no memory. And now, in this body of Olga on the human Earth planet, I am dedicating my life to psychic perception, exploration of the human soul, understanding of the human soul, and memory. You're basically traveling down memory lane, because in some ways there's no time, and you can everything is happening at the same time. You can be in all places in all times. And so what I'm learning here slowly as Olga, and experiencing it again and again and again, if I have sessions with people, or just for myself as well, or even with the planet, having a conversation with the planet Earth, I am shown again and again and again that there is no such thing as something completely lost out of memory or erased from memory. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. And even now we're living in that age where we have the internet, and once you posted, let's say, inappropriate picture of yourself, like that's never leaving the internet. It's kind of like an opposite, but not a very nice experience of memory never being deleted. And it can also go like a horrible other way. Like what if, having that right to delete memory, right? Like for your privacy reasons. Anyway. And in my human Olga life, we have family members who have also lost memory due to dementia and Alzheimer's. And I could actually communicate with the soul of those people. And I saw that even though in this physical form, this person doesn't remember who you are or who their family members are, on a soul subconscious, deeper levels, soul level or deeper levels of consciousness, nothing is forgotten. Everything exists. Nothing is ever lost. Nothing is ever lost. So I guess, this is one of the ways karma works, is that on the one hand, or at least the karmic theme of losing memory and losing, connection with yourself. And I also realized that here on planet Earth, we are having a kind of a similar experience where I feel that we as human beings, we are living here with a kind of amnesia to who we are and an amnesia to who our family is. So, for example, we live in this amnesia that we can connect to ourselves. Most of us, not everyone. See, it's not always forever 100% gone. Somebody always holds this memory. We don't remember who we are. We forgot how to connect to ourselves because from young age, we are taught things like what we should be doing, or we are actually taught who you are. We're being taught who you are, and we're being taught not to ever actually dive into yourself and check for yourself who you are. Because we're taught that psychic perception, or at least not now, but when I was growing up, that was a teaching that, okay, you're imagining things. This is bullshit. Either you're crazy or you are sick or you're doing something wrong or you're a charlatan or something like that. For many years we were growing up and we were living further and further disconnection from self, just even understanding how we function, like who we are, who are we? Amnesia, and also amnesia about our relationship to our family. And I don't mean our human family only, but our family on planet Earth, to our brothers and sisters who are animals, let's say, who are our brothers and sisters of the animal kingdom, who are our brothers and sisters of the plant kingdom, who are brothers and sisters of stone beings, stone people, water, fire, or the elements. Not only water as in an element, but I mean actual water. I've had memories of lifetimes where I was water. You can be water. You can have an incarnation where you're water. Or air. And how we are brothers and sisters of the mountains and other planets and stars and the tiniest little molecules or whatever it is. Like the stone I have. And we are also brothers and sisters of beings that are not physical. Nature beings. All kinds of, beings that live here on planet Earth, but are not physical. Like the elementals and fairy folk and a myriad of other beings that human beings forgot that we can perceive them, we can talk to them. Not only can we perceive them and talk to them, we are actually brothers and sisters, like family. So yeah, we are kind of living in amnesia, a similar story to what I perceived or had a lifetime on the ship, where we were so old, don't remember where we came from. And then guess what? We had a virus that helps you, that makes you forget everything. What did you even forget? You don't remember where you came from in the beginning, but it made you forget your immediate family. So yeah, the directions. So that was my prep work for the directions. Because if you want to gain a better perspective of where you want to go, what direction, like gain a direction in life, you need to go into the center and reconnect with yourself. Where are you coming from? Not necessarily past journeys, but that too. But where you're coming from, as in who you are, a memory of who you are, not only your relationship to others and your journeys in the past, whatever past is, but you. And I went back to that masculine voice of the planet Earth. And I asked both of them, but whatever, I asked planet Earth. I pointed to that deep infested situation with the insects. And yeah, it's very similar. Like even in that lifetime with the planet, the ships and the warfare, we were attacked with a biorobotic virus. And in my vision, when I was talking to the planet Earth, the insects were also biorobotic. And they felt like a virus, they were infecting, or pests, whatever, they were infecting the planet Earth. So I asked myself, my guides, and the planet Earth, I said, well, what do we do with this situation? Like, I feel that I can't really do anything about it because it's so gigantic. It's gone too far. I feel like whatever I do, my size is so small compared to all of this. I said that I think I don't matter. Like whatever I do, I don't matter. I don't matter in this situation. So why even show it to me? Because I can't do anything. I can't help. I can't reverse this. I can't, I'm so small that I don't matter. And then I was shown, when I said that, I was shown one of the insects. And this insect was particularly, I was shown like this, this is one of the seeds this is one of the viruses, like a seed that is planted here on Earth. And the virus's essence is, I don't matter. It's like one of the viruses here on Earth is the belief or perception of self, which is a disconnection from self, from your memory of who you are. In essence, it's I don't matter. It's one of the seeds of the virus. And I was shown how perfectly how perfect this virus is, how perfectly it works. Because as long as you believe that you don't matter, you will never act. And if you never act, it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy that you don't matter. So, and the way you can heal yourself from that virus or break away from that virus is reconsidering and going like, I matter. And then you do something. And then when you do something, it's also a self-fulfilling prophecy. You matter. But I was like, okay, that sounds great in theory, but in practice, what do you want me to do? I really don't know what kind of small action I can do that would matter, or without hurting myself to the extent of, like maybe self-destruction. So I asked, like, how can I act but still be safe? And survive and live, because I don't have an interest in self-sacrifice. I feel this is, anyway, this is not my path. And I feel that a lot of us do a lot of self-sacrificing that is actually not, not useful. I think you know what I'm talking about with, if you're watching that long, you probably know and have experienced and have been developing your own limits and boundaries and the saying of no, and like separating yourself from another in the healthy way. So that's what I mean by sacrifice. Like, I don't want to do something that would be self-destructive, because that was the point. So as an answer to that, I was shown by that masculine voice of Earth this time, that the Earth, it was a cartoonish kind of picture, because I like painting. As you can see behind me is the book cover of my book, which is called Tales of the Spirit and the Divine. Check it out. I'm advertising. So the masculine father voice of the planet showed me again the planet Earth, but now it was covered with a lot of paint, like acrylic paint, the thick acrylic paint. And they showed me, the planet Earth showed me, because my guides were also there. You never communicate with like one thing psychically. You always kind of communicate with a collection of things. I mean, Earth is a collection of things. Oh yeah, that was a cool noticing too, that Earth as that orange ball of fire. In some way, it is one entity, like one soul, one being, but also in another way, it's a multitude. It's like a gigantic community of tiny little beings. And I feel tiny is really not the right word here, but we're human, we use words. So Earth is one, but also Earth is many, all the many people, the beings, the plants, the animals, the non-physical beings. And when it was interrelating with that dark hole thing, which I don't want to say it's evil necessarily. I think there are other ways to see it. So that black hole here was the many insects, the many viruses, you can say. One of them is I don't matter, but there are many more. I was shown, I'm trying to remember more of them, but they're all like self-deprecating kind of beliefs, I forgot now. Just gonna try to remember. Oh yeah, another one is I don't belong. I don't belong. Or like nobody cares what I have to say, or something like that. So the black hole was like, you can see it as one, but it's also a multitude. It's also many insects and many tiny little insects with those viruses that go in your brain or your heart or wherever. And they say you don't matter, or you don't belong, or I don't know, you're stupid or something like, or you're sick, I don't know. I haven't heard those two specific ones. I'm just making them up from Olga brain right now. I only heard two, I don't belong and I don't matter, which are very much mine. That's why I heard them. But different people have different ones. So it showed me the planet Earth full of paint, acrylic paint. And it showed me that, let's say every human being here, let's not consider anyone else or whatever, every soul here is something that came from a specific tube of paint. And it's like that big. Let's say everybody gets this much of paint to express here on Earth. And I was shown how everybody was squeezed out of a tube. And there's like a lot of paint on planet Earth. And I was hearing, how are you going to paint yourself on this planet Earth? How are you going to paint yourself? Like, how are you going to express yourself? What are you going to do here? What are you going to be here? What are you going to be here? And then again, I was saying that, look, I just have this tiny little paint. How can I possibly paint something significant when I am such a small tube and everybody else is too. It's like, it's true, nobody matters, because we're so small, but there are so many of us. How does our voice ever get heard? Or how does it ever matter what we do? Especially considering the infestation level of the planet. I was comparing it to that. And then I was seeing how the paint of many, many people, the souls, was all mixed up with each other. And the colors were kind of, if you're a painter, you know that if you mix things up, you get a kind of brown or something, different shades of brown. Or in that case, I was witnessing some kind of swampy green brown. And I was saying, let's say I'm yellow, because yellow is the paint that always gets disappeared with yellow is the least kind of stable color, because if you're going to add yellow to, let's say, green, it's kind of like going to be eaten up by the green. The darker color always wins, and you need a lot of yellow to get back to yellow, like too much. So I felt like yellow is the weakest kind of paint. So I said to them, my guides in the earth, okay, let's say I'm yellow, but look at this gigantic blob of swampy green. If I'm going to, speak or say something or express myself into that, I am just going to be completely eaten up. I will not be even noticed at all. I will just become swampy green, the same as this gigantic blob on planet Earth. And then I was shown something which was like, I had this explanation of, well, you don't have to express yourself in that way. So it was shown that a lot of us here kind of, again, on the assumption of I have to kind of speak in the same way as everybody else, or I have to act in the same way as everybody else, or I have to get into the competition with everybody else and have to win to have my voice heard or something like that. When we do things in the same way as everybody else, and I mean, when we express ourselves, sometimes also like we censor ourselves. We don't say the exact truth from ourselves. We have to censor ourselves. Like, oh, don't talk about, alien stuff, for example. They'll think we're crazy. So, yeah, we censor ourselves to be more palatable. And we think that we'll be more accepted this way and spread further. But actually, it's the opposite. I was shown that if you try to censor yourself and you try to be like everybody else, then you are like everybody else. And no, you can't be heard, in the sense that you blend yourself with other colors like a blender, and you're just blended. And when you blend that's when you have an issue with limits and boundaries. This is not healthy limits and boundaries. When you completely blend, merge, like two soups come together and completely merge. When you do that, everybody becomes a swampy green. Yeah. And they're like, well, don't do that then. And I'm like, well, how can I express myself? And, I was getting like this image of, well, if you're yellow paint, let's say, because I think yellow paint is like the weakest paint that gets swallowed up by everything. If you're like a yellow paint, then they showed me you don't mix, you don't blend with other colors. On the contrary, you paint yourself in thin little lines or strings or rivers or something. Very thin lines. It's okay if it's a thin line, but a thin line that it didn't mix with the swampy green has this contrast. And it's all you see then, this yellow line. Like, imagine there's a swampy green background, but you paint with your own color and you don't melt and you don't mix with this background. Then it matters. Like, you will be seen. You will be heard. And I don't mean seen and heard as in like social media voices, influences and everything. And that can be too. But also like whatever your action is, whatever your chosen action or being ways of expression is in this world. Maybe you create paintings, or you write books, or maybe you create art, other forms of physical or non-physical creations. Maybe you create creams. I don't know. The such an important thing is not to blend, because the more you try to make things palatable, you blend and you truly disappear, just as everybody else. And if everybody else separates themselves from that swamp, I was shown that you can separate yourself from that swampy green. And a lot of us are swampy green right now, because we've blended, because we've lost our connection to ourselves. Like, who am I? The value of how unique I am. And also, for a long time on planet Earth, we've been blending. We have had maybe like 0 healthy limits and boundaries through various means. So I was shown, if you just really, really don't blend and be yourself, you will end up not blending. And also you will be creating a contrast with the swampy green. That's one of the ways. It's not the only way. But then I was like, oh, okay, so it's not terribly, impossibly difficult or impossible. It's actually possible. So my final message here today is you matter. Oh, and when I heard that you matter from the planet Earth, it was kind of funny, double meaning, because you matter as in, what you do matters or something like that. But also you matter as in you are matter. On planet Earth, you are matter. You're this paint, this amount of paint that is you. And it was like, you are matter and you matter. Like, what you do matters. And the way to win any virus here on Earth, of like this multitude of tiny little gigantic spiders or small ones, I don't know. I love spiders, is actually, like acting as the opposite of the virus. The virus says you don't matter, but you say I matter, and you act accordingly. Another aspect of this conversation with the planet Earth that I got was the karmic relationships we're experiencing here on Earth. As you may have heard, we can have karmic relationships, like, well, especially with our family, karmic relationships with certain people, difficult situations we work through all our lives, perhaps living through a codependent relationship and releasing that, or maybe being born in a family with addiction and living through that and working through that all your life, or living with scarcity and working through that all your life, or maybe, all of the above and whatever else that's out there. And as we have these karmic relationships with people, with concepts, with beliefs, with those tiny little viruses, and virus, I'm using the word virus as a metaphor here. It's not, I don't mean it to be an actual virus. So having karmic relationships with beliefs such as I don't matter, or I'm not good enough, or I am too ugly, or I am unworthy, or, I think there's like a million of those. And we, as the multitude of human beings on Earth, we're having these relationships with the multitude of these tiny little viruses that say, I don't matter, I don't belong, and all that. There are like all these small connections. Yeah, and it does feel like a spider web, actually. Now that I'm seeing it, it actually looks like a spider web. Remember I said, oh, these insects, and I've seen a spider. It's a very complicated spider web connections network of karmic relationships. Between the multitude of us here, having multiple karmic relationships with various souls. And if you look at a concept or belief as a soul and a consciousness as well, you're having karmic relationships with the consciousness of a belief, but you don't have to think like that. You can just say, oh, I'm having this concept of my karma. I don't know how you want to put it. So as we have tiny little, the multitude of relationships, the many humans and the many viruses that I mentioned that are trying to get us to have amnesia towards ourselves and towards amongst each other as well, how we are related to each other and to the universe. So is the earth as like one entity having a karmic relationship with this black hole. I don't know what to call it. Black hole darkness as one being, like one entity or one soul collection. And as I was exiting the conversation with the planet Earth, I was seeing it like, oh, just as we have karmic relationships with many people, the Earth is having her karmic relationship or their karmic relationship with someone, a black hole. And I really don't see karmic relationships as something like a war or something like crime and punishment or something like good, bad, or good versus evil. If I look at my own life, I was born into a family with addiction. So I can say that I'm in my 40s now. So I've been doing this for 40 years. I can say that if you look at me as like one entity and addiction as another, I see it as we've been exploring each other. I've been exploring addiction just as addiction has been exploring me. And we've been having kind of the same situation with the Earth as the ball of fire exploring life, and this black hole going exploring in the symmetrical way towards Earth. And there's just this interaction happening. So I also feel like I have been having a similar relationship with addiction. It's like we've been exploring each other, and we've had times when it's more over there, like addiction kind of overtakes, and we have had times when I overtake, but I don't feel that it's a war. It's like, I want to know you kind of thing. And then after all those imbalances and darknesses and light spots and then dark spots, and unfortunately the pain and suffering that goes on, eventually, I feel like we're slowly entering some kind of a state of a reconciliation. Eventually, we start to find some kind of a balance where I have known you. Like, I know you now. I have known you and you have known me. We've like known each other. So yeah, I've been seeing this kind of connection of we, the multitude, are having our spider web of networks of karmic relationships that are very complicated as we are all knowing each other kind of thing. And then we have the Earth and the black hole having their thing. When I was exiting the conversation, I started to see that swampy green blob of paint as smaller and smaller and smaller as I was zooming out from the planet Earth, I guess, into space. And I was realizing that it's not actually that bad. And that's often how healing conversations and messages happen. It's like at first it's all dark and terrible and doom and gloom, horrible stuff. And then at the end of the conversation, if you're experiencing more light and lightness, it's been a healing message. So as I was zooming out, I was seeing that the swampy green blob of paint were all like really blended in an unhealthy way. It was actually just taking up some part of the Earth. And so I asked, well, what about that initial image that I was seeing, that everything is infested with that dark virus of the forgetfulness? And then I was asked to look at planet Earth with my new eyes after this whole conversation. And when I did, I saw that it wasn't completely all infested. So I was looking through my own eyes of my shadow and my trauma, and I was seeing one picture. But after some healing was done in the conversation, when I looked at Earth again, I saw that it wasn't completely all ashen gray and infested. I saw that there were like blobs of it. And the blobs kind of reminded me of how if you look at planet Earth from outer space, there are photos of cities and city lights and the connections of the roads and everything. And you see those blobs of the bright cities. So I was seeing that, look, not the whole of the planet Earth is experiencing such darkness. I was feeling like, okay, maybe because I'm a human, so I was looking at that mostly. It felt that it was mostly prevalent with the human community, and not just with the human community, but the places where we have more communication, like the internet, and we tend to become like a global society. So we share our fears and we share those beliefs, like I don't matter and I don't belong and I'm not worthy enough or I am not enough and all that stuff. So it's like, oh, this is most infectious and present in those very concentrated places of human connection, communication, and part of it is the internet. But also before internet, I don't know, I feel like we were having this too. If you look at a place that's far away from a city and has just a forest and grass and rivers and the oceans, yes, there's some part of it there, but mostly it's kind of not really. It's more of a cleaner place. So it was a different perspective that, yeah, not the whole earth is infested, because it was just my perspective of how much I am in it. And so I see it. And it was a little bit like, it's actually one of those viruses. And the little virus said, let's generalize things and let's blow things out of proportion and let's make things black and white. And the less you subscribe to that generalization, blowing things out of proportion, seeing things as black and white, the more clear you can see the picture, because you're kind of like out of that particular tiny little virus. And then they showed me that in that lifetime, when I was looking at all the dead bodies after that battle, they said, how far did you really look? Like everywhere you looked with your eye, there were dead bodies. But could you see something on the other side of the planet Earth? There were many other places on planet Earth that perhaps didn't even know that there was conflict, that there was even a war. You assume and you generalize and you blow things out of proportion and you make it black and white and you make it all dark. And then you say, well, I don't matter. So it's like a kind of a way of how those beliefs, those tiny little viruses interact. So yeah, I want to wish us a good luck to resolve this amnesia thing, amnesia regarding ourselves, who we are, and amnesia about our relationship to our family, who are not only human beings. And I wish us lightness on this journey of remembering who we are, where do we come from, and where do we go. If you'd like to check out my group meditation sittings and sessions on the 4 directions, you're welcome to check out the links and the information in the description box below. Yeah, so safe traveling, and I wish you wicked expansion scapes. Bye-bye.